So the day is May 20th, 2026. The boys finally went out today, but they didn't really go out with a bang. It was a good finale, don't get me wrong, and it definitely changed my whole mood about the season, but it never really felt like a final season. Look, I just gotta start off with my first nitpick here. It shouldn't have been called Blood and Bone, not the finale. Given all the memes that came out, Brown Bakugo, that legend bro, he said it perfectly himself. The title should have been
Scorched.
It's crazy. A meme actually helped improve the quality of a show. I wish another fan base would take notes.
Caesar! Hey, I need you, Caesar! Hey. Mark, I made a steak! Hey, a steak?
Knock it off.
This is good news! We can be big! A pet?
Hey,
you'll live for 30 years! This is insane! Where is Omni-Man? Where is he? Where is Omni-Man? Where is he? Where is Omni-Man? Where is Omni-Man? Immortal! Omni-Man! Ah!
If I was the security guard, I'd be more worried about securing the reputation of the show itself. Look guys, I swear, it's a good show. The fan base are just fucked. To the show's credit, it definitely knew how to keep us hyped for this Scorched Earth match. But I need to be honest, as Season 5 progressed, the hype slowly died down. I was still invested, don't get me wrong, but the fact that the show fixated itself on other things that diverted us from the main plot itself, it definitely started to eat away at the interest I had, which is a definite bad sign for any last season of any show whatsoever. It never used its final minutes wisely, and I mean final minutes throughout all 8 episodes. There were also several unrelated things to the plot that they focused on, which only ever wasted more time. A lot like The Flash Season 9, there was too much to fill in such little time. That's why The Flash suffered overall at the end. That, among many other flaws, such as not giving enough time to the characters that we should be focused on, which the boys also did. For what seemed like the whole season, I was asking myself, where the hell is Ryan?
Where is he?
For someone who is featured in the final battle of this show, he should have gotten more screen time. Here's the thing about them uncovering all of these new soups that we come across. It steals screen time from characters that we should be focusing on. Characters like Ryan. And it also took time away from rivalries that we should have focused on and should have finished up with in the final episode. Like Soulja Boy and MM, along with Starlight and The Deep. And where was that time devoted to, you may ask? It was devoted to a man who was pushing 50, sniffing out the asshole of a TikTok girl.
Pink guy, too much cellar tossing, huh?
And without all that added weight, we could have fixated more time on the father-son dynamic between Homelander and Soulja Boy. This could have been a lot more than just whose cock did Stormfront prefer. This plot point was revisited in the show in the later half. Mind you, these are the 2 most powerful soups of their respective times. And the one thing that these 2 juggernauts talk about when they collide are their juggernauts.
Jacob's like, dude, and then Edward's like, dude, and then they're both like, dude.
That line where Soulja Boy says, "Nobody fucks my son but me," it could have meant a lot more if we focused more on their dynamic. Now, I know it's definitely not in character for Soulja Boy to act all fatherly to Homelander in a short span of time, but you could have it be that Homelander convinces him to help him take out Billy Butcher and the rest of the boys, because eventually, once they kill Homelander, they'll come after Soulja Boy too and all the other soups. So Soulja Boy, wanting to spare his own life, willingly decides to work with Homelander, and throughout that whole time they work together, you see them getting closer and closer as they bond over the torture that Vought, along with the Russians and everyone else that has experimented on them, has put them through, and maybe they end up getting closer or drifting further apart. Which inevitably leads to a battle in which it's Butcher versus Homelander, along with Mother's Milk versus Soulja Boy. The catharsis we felt seeing Homelander powerless against Butcher, we can also see that catharsis with Soulja Boy as he falls weak and Mother's Milk finally gets revenge for his family. Black Noir had his revenge blueballed in Season 3, so this could be a substitute for it. This fight can be going on along with Butcher and Homelander, and then the Deep and Starlight, so all throughout the city per se, there's fights happening, which could finally deliver this poster from Season 5 that we were promised, where Vought Tower collapses, purely because of the brutality of the battle itself. We're trying to take notes from Invincible Season 3 Episode 8 here, because we've been building to this for an entire series. It needs to match the magnitude of the rivalries that are on display right now. It will literally be worthy of the name Scorched Earth. And to address another elephant in the room of characters that didn't get enough screen time, the people from Gen V should have been a lot more than just the cameo that they were in this season. The boys' team would have benefited greatly from the numbers. 2 members of this group had worked for Homelander for a solid year. Their knowledge is essential. Sure, Kate and Sam may not have known everything, but their information still could have assisted the team in the understanding of the Homelander files. They're not just there for intellect support, they're also the perfect group to fight off an entire army of supes that would have been coerced by fear of Homelander and Soldier Boy, giving us this picture from the comics, and it was also adapted into the show. The supes that are rallying behind Homelander and Soldier Boy also have the motive of keeping themselves alive due to Butcher's reputation of being a very, very brutal individual. So a lot like when it comes down to Soldier Boy knowing that MM is coming for him, they also know that after Homelander dies, Butcher might come for them next. Okay, so this is basically what the final battle would look like in my reinterpretation. Butcher and Homelander ripping each other apart, finally living in the moment they both dreamed about. MM is getting his long-awaited payback against Soldier Boy with help from the Gen V group. And Huey's assisting Starlight when it comes down to fighting off the Deep. This leaves Kimiko, Ryan, and Marie. And these three are going to help Butcher take down Homelander once and for all. This brings me to the point where I said the story didn't have a singular focus on an end goal. It was just multiple ideas stuffed into one in such a little amount of time, which caused the season to suffer overall. Let's say we compare it to Arrow's last season. The cohesion in the plot is undeniable. Everything told in this final season is related to the death of the Green Arrow. It shows how Oliver tries to prepare those that he loves for a world without him. And Stephen Amell does this wonderful thing. At the end of each episode, you see him tear up. The audience is constantly reminded of the inevitable tragedy of his death. And it ties up all the loose ends perfectly of every lesson that he's had to learn over the last 8 years of the show. It showed the regrets that he had leading up to his death, the people he couldn't save, and how through all of that survivor's guilt, he still pushed on and kept fighting in order to learn from those mistakes and save the people he still can keep safe. And you get to see that payoff in his final moments. Me personally, I prefer the first death. It's very true to who he is. He's a man surrounded by people who have superpowers, and he's just a regular person, just like you and me. But it never stopped him from dying a hero, dying on his shield, going out swinging, to save the loved ones he still had in that moment, even after all the loss that he had suffered. And even after he died, his memory never died. It still lived on in the people that honored the man who became someone else, the man who became something else. The cohesion of the season structure, it's undeniable here.
Your bone structure is giving my bone structure. Okay.
So let's cut out the fat from The Boys Season 5. About to put this motherfucker through a shredding season. Essentially what we got here is Homelander trying to achieve total dictatorship over the United States, obliterating any opposition that could go against his reign. This is shown in the deaths of characters like A-Train and Frenchie. Homelander's trying to send a message here. He's not playing games.
As you can see, we are not playing games. Sacrificial lamb this Saturday. We are not playing games. Then what are you going to do?
We are not playing games.
Huh?
We are not playing games.
The arc for Soldier Boy remains the same, but we fixate more attention on it. Him trying to be a father to Homelander. At first, he's reluctant, but as time goes on, he warms up to him. He genuinely tries to teach him what it is to lead a team in his own twisted, disgusting way, and how to assert power over people in his own toxic masculine mindset. We see fragments of this fatherhood, if you could call it that, in the Mr. Marathon episode, where he's like, oh, can't you take a fucking joke? We should have been getting more of this all throughout the season. So the first 4 episodes, he's reluctant, and then a sudden flip in the 4th episode where something is said, or he sees something of himself in Homelander, which causes him to be more paternal in his approach. I'd also want to keep the regret that he feels. The episode where they go look for the V1 kind of exposed a fracture in Soldier Boy's persona. I want to expand more on that. I want to see him truly guilt-ridden after everything he's done. And this could easily connect to the fight that he's going to have with Mother's Milk at the end of the season, as Soldier Boy's reckless, abusive behavior had also caused the death of MM's family. It's all tied together in this case. As for the Gen V group, Billy Butcher and the rest of the boys, it's pretty simple. Their intention is purely towards one thing and one thing alone throughout the whole final season.
Oi, Huey, I finally found it. The way to knock the bollocks off of Homelander.
Go on, son. Have a bump. Oi, 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 you.
And they could have 3 contingency plans. Marie Moreau, in order to follow up from what Gen V said, because we can't just deny something that's clearly been said before. The soup-killing virus, since that's the most infamous one, and it's commonly used throughout all of the media in The Boys. Or using Kimiko's abilities, like we saw in the finale, in order to nerf Homelander's powers with the Soldier Boy Blast. Soldier Boy Blast, that shit sounds like a Nerf gun.
Taught her how to jerk off. Diddle that skittle. Flick the bean. How to find that man in the canoe. She came like a faucet. She'd crank up the Jonas Brothers. She'd hump a Soldier Boy pillow.
No, Jensen, that's not the ammunition I was referring to. As for the 7 and the rest of the soups, well, like said before, they're all led by fear. Fear of Homelander, as now he's at his most psychotic. In their eyes, they have no choice. And in the end, tragically, they're all expendable. We could definitely have characters like Sage and Ashley flipping. We could have a couple redemption arcs here or there. But nonetheless, we came here for scorched earth. Shock and awe. Blood and fucking bone. And purely because I know the show can't help itself, I'm gonna allow Eric Kripke to sprinkle a little bit of down bad depravity in each episode. Only sprinkle it though. Don't make it the bulk of the whole narrative. This was low-key probably the POV of the director when it came down to shooting The Boys Season 5.
You see a close-up of Harmony Korine, and he's shaking his finger at the audience going, "This is terrible. Look what the kids today are doing. Look what they've become. They're criminals now." And the camera pans down, and you see he's masturbating furiously.
I promise I'm not trying to blindly point a finger at the guy. I love him for making such engaging television. But it's the final season, bro, and the time you have here is precious. In the famous words of Bartholomew Henry Allen, every second is a gift. One last thing that the show did, which I thought would have been better, but now that I rethink about it, it's actually good that they did this. The death of Terra. Butcher's villain arc here was rushed. I always thought that Terra dying off naturally due to old age didn't really suit the final nail in the coffin that sent Butcher down that dark path of despair. I wanted them to add more to the anger that he felt. Imagine if Homelander had basically killed Terra. Or, given the way that the show portrayed Terra's character, imagine if he fucked Terra and then killed him. Guys, you gotta hear me out. Just look at this clip. I was gonna rewrite it in a way that Homelander basically did this to Terra, and he left Butcher a note saying, "I didn't kill Becca, Ryan did, but I guess I fucked both of your bitches at the end of it." But after a day of processing the finale, I see now that this was the better option, as Terra dying normally kind of reveals what everyone says about Butcher, that monster, that demon, that devil, it's always been in there. It proves the theory that Butcher just wants to hurt people, that he's a hateful bastard. That in many instances, the reason why they ended his story in death was, in his own words, nothing was going to stop me from letting out that virus.
You're a monster! Hey, it was self-defense.
But here's one for the monster that finally brought Homelander to his knees.
You're feeling it now, aren't you? What the rest of us live with every day. Your own mortality. But I didn't have to go easy on you. A different binding agent, a stronger mix. I want you to remember that. I wanted to remind you to stay out of my way. In all the years to come, in your most private moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
All in all, this season was like a Bondi burger meal from Porto's. It's good, it's just not appetizing. It needed a lot more.
Bro, do you know I almost just gave a fuck?